Alright, so for today, I'm going to be doing this Retrieve the Data. It is a 4-player. I will be doing this mission by myself, and also, I'm not allowing myself to use any random weapons that I find in ventures. So no random xenon bows, no vacuum tube bows, no random RPGs, and no other random weapons. And that means the only things I have is myself, my shraps, and the heroes I'm running in my loadout. And speaking of my loadout, let's get into that real quick. And this is my loadout. I'm running base Kyle in the lead for all of that extra huge structure health. I'm running Blakebeard stash as my team perk. Like I said before, I will not be using actual weapons, but I will allow myself to use the weapons from Blakebeard stash. The main reason as to why I'm not using any random weapons that you could find normally for ventures is mostly because no two playthroughs of ventures is the same. You cannot just guarantee that you will find a specific weapon that you want. You could find 50 of those weapons, or you could find none. And I don't want you to have to go out of your way to farm a specific weapon just for a random mission. And of course, Blakebeard stash will be giving us peg legs that we can use as an actual weapon, cannonball grenades which will give us a ranged attack, and coconuts that we can consume for free health. And to activate Blakebeard stash, we have going coconuts. Whenever we consume a coconut, we will get 16% extra damage, so that's of course going to be buffing our abilities and our peg legs. We also have Blakebeard himself. He's going to be buffing the cannonball grenades by 20%, and he's of course going to be activating our team perk. We also have Privateer Hype. She's going to be giving us extra club damage, and that's going to be buffing our peg legs that we get from the super stash loots from our team perk, and then of course, activating our team perk so we could get those peg legs. I also have power-based Knox in support. That's going to of course passively heal our structures, and then Mega Base Kyle for a little bit of extra range with our base, so placement doesn't matter as much. And we can have more structures affected by our base. And those are all of the heroes I'm running for my loadout. Alright, so I'm going to of course showcase this in my storm shield, because knowing my luck, I probably won't have enough time to showcase everything with this build in a normal mission. But this is pretty much the build. It's very simple. Of course, we're standing on top of the data right now, and I'm of course right at the front of one of the shrap tunnels right here. And to start off things with the shrap tunnel, we're putting a 1-4 spike down. It has quadruple durability. Those are the perks I'm running. It could just be tier 2. It could be tier 3 if you want the extra last durability perk if you want. It basically applies a 50% snare that goes over 2 tiles. So very, very helpful shrap for really small shrap tunnels like this. Also, because 1-4 spikes applies a snare by default, no matter what perks or level it's at, you can actually just use a tier 1 if you want, if you just want to save a lot on your higher tier resources. Now let's get into the actual shrap tunnel part. Ignore that one ramp, I'll get into that a little bit later. And no, it's not a misplacement. We're going to use some broadsides. I like these ones right here with the ×2 reload. They have very, very high uptime. And you want to put a broadside up here. And believe it or not, but broadside cannonballs have a gravity effect, so once that top broadside triggers, the cannonballs will actually end up where the 1-4 spike is, because they'll roll down the ramp, still bouncing off of all of the walls, and they're still going to hit really good damage, but be able to affect a larger area, believe it or not. And then I like using, of course, a second copy of broadside with a single reload perk instead of 2, so the cannon traps can alternate with one another. And I would suggest putting a sound wall down here for splitters, and it's just so in case, if gunslingers or pitchers go up, when they get down to the bottom of this ramp, they're just going to be dancing. So very helpful trap to run. We're also going to put a tire trap now right on top of this ramp. Make sure your back is facing away from the objective so the enemies can get staggered onto this 1-4 spike, and also, believe it or not, but when husks are knocked back, that actually resets their AI. And that means that if a husk is attacking this 1-4 spike, that random tire trap, of course, is going to, hit the enemies on the 1-4 spikes, reset their AI, and then it could potentially hit enemies farther away from your build, stalling them for a bit longer, which is pretty helpful. And for the tire straps, I like to run double reload with triple durability, and they could be tier 3. Tier 2 is also really good, but you do miss out on that third durability perk. Now we're going to put some cannon straps right here, and we're of course going to use a different copy again, so these cannon straps have different reload times. So when the husks of course drop down from off this ramp, that's going to activate the 2 broadsides right there, and because broadside cannonballs have a gravity effect, they will be able to hit husks where I'm standing. We're also going to want to have a 4 launcher, and this is going to send the husks. They're going to hit that ramp and just end up pretty much where I'm standing right here, or maybe even back down where the 1-4 spikes is right there. So that's going to help send enemies all the way back through the actual strap tunnel. We're also going to put a second one right here, and this is in case the ramp gets destroyed, or there's random husklings or nurses they like to attack just random things for no reason at all. So that's why there's a second 4 launcher there. Now we're going to come down to these walls right here, and I don't suggest using broadsides at all. I actually suggest using wall darts, and it's for a very important reason. Depending where an enemy is standing in front of a wall dart, they can actually get hit by multiple of the projectiles from a wall dart. Because how wall darts work is that they send out 6 projectiles when they fire, and depending on the size of the enemy, they can actually get hit by multiple of the projectiles at once, basically multiplying the amount of damage the strap does. So as an example, if a smasher were to be standing right in the middle of the strap, they could actually get hit by all 6 of the projectiles and take ×6 damage, making it an amazing strap to deal with leaks. Also, just because of this one ramp right here, this strap tunnel is technically around 4 tiles long. You know, so that random one ramp there, it's not really much of a misplacement. We also want, of course, a tar pit in the back. This wall can just, of course, have a wall dart on it, and that's, of course, going to be where the data is. And we're going to also want wall darts like that, too. And then we'll want some anti-air straps in the corners. And then, of course, up here as well, you can do a little circle with them on these barricades, and those will of course help deal with the lobbers. This arch is also very helpful too, in case husks are underneath that wooden ramp with the 4 launcher. This arch with this wall will stop them from getting launched onto the roof of your objective. And we of course want to have this wooden ramp because it's going to help, of course, keep all of our extra straps active. And believe it or not, but 4 launchers can actually hit enemies through ramps, believe it or not. So if there were to be a huskling attacking the bottom of this ramp, the husks on top of the ramp would actually get hit by the 4 launcher, and they can actually get sent back. So it's very, very weird, but yeah, if something's actually attacking this ramp from below, it's going to, of course, get launched, which will just hit that arch, and then it will send other enemies, of course, into air and flying back. You can also put a wall dart, of course, up there on that little wall right there, or you could, of course, move it back here, like that, and then just have this be a window. And also, believe it or not, but wall darts have a total of 3 tiles of range, so even if you have a wall dart all the way back there, if husks are standing exactly where I was standing on that 4 tile, they would actually get hit by the wall darts. And that's pretty much everything with the main tunnel itself. I'm now going to, of course, talk about a few miscellaneous things with this build, so I'm going to get into that real quick. So, let's talk about these defender pads right here. You can actually, believe it or not, give melee defenders the peg legs you actually get from your super stash loots, which is pretty cool because you can effectively give a defender a weapon that doesn't cost anything. Now, there is of course a few issues with defenders. Of course, the main one being is that they're very, very stupid. Let's be real. I wouldn't be that surprised if enemies were to spawn all the way out there where the trees are. I wouldn't be that surprised if that melee defender right there were to probably take aggro on some sort of pitcher, gunslinger, or lobber from across the map, should go over there and try and kill them, and then die by like a swarm of husks, and then you don't even know they're out there, and then they're basically just pretty much gone for most of the mission, or the entire mission. The reason why I have this wooden ramp right here is so they can't escape and just kill themselves by getting swarmed by something. And that, believe it or not, is the main reason why I have that wooden ramp in front of all of the tunnels. It's because I don't want them, leaving the objective, going to kill something, and then just die. Another reason why I have those wooden ramps is to limit the amount of enemies that the defender can, of course, hit, target, and kill. Of course, the main issue of peglegs is their very, very low durability. If that defender is constantly getting use, you're going to have to constantly farm up super stash loots and constantly replace manually those peglegs that defenders have. But if defenders are, of course, just picking off random huskies, or maybe a smasher here and there, then you don't really need to farm that many super stash loots at all, and you don't really have to micromanage the defender pad really ever to give them constant free replacement weapons. Another thing that also helps with your defenders is campfires. You can use campfires to heal yourself, your teammates if you are playing co-op, and of course, your defenders. So if your defenders are of course getting bullied by, of course, a few huskies of different varieties, a mist monster or something like that, or a mini boss, they will of course be healed over time by the campfire. And the last thing I need to talk about is, of course, barricade support. Like I mentioned earlier with the tire traps, you can, of course, launch or stagger enemies backwards to reset their AI. And when you reset the enemy AI, they're more likely to not attack your barricades and go for your trap tunnels. So by having these wall launchers down here, they will, of course, protect your barricades. And that is pretty much the entire build. Let's jump straight on into a game and actually see how it performs. Alright, let's start up the mission. Pull out a ranged weapon. The only time I'm going to be using a ranged weapon for this series. Place our base down. I did kind of have to rush a bit. I was kind of taking my time. So there's a few more things that I do have to place down and craft. We will also want to cover the base. That's of course very, very important and honestly must do for any mission where you have a base, or if you have a teammate using a base. And of course making a secondary ceiling. If you have the extra building materials, might as well should make an extra ceiling to of course help with wallbars and flingers. Also, I do suggest throwing up a few wall darts too, to help protect and defend your roof. Why not? If you're able to, afford one or two extra traps, might as well should, put a few traps on the roof, just in case you think you might have problems with flingers. Here we have the boss. He is power level 201. He is a build blocker, shielded, vampiric mini boss, and he has an element, which means he will be taking 50% reduced damage from our pigwigs because he has an element. I'm not 100% sure on how much damage reduction shielded has, but we are able to do pretty good damage to him with just me and a defender with just some pigwigs. But of course those pigwigs will break, so you will have to of course micromanage your defender pads. But if you don't mind doing that, you do of course get a lot of extra damage. And also, make sure you of course remember to rebuild your traps, because a lot of them will break because of trap durability. And that can of course become a huge problem later on, especially if something like a sound wall were to break, because that's not going to be able to de-arm exploders of course. And just like that, that was pretty much the mission. Quite a lot of traps did break from, of course, durability, but, you know, it happens for Fencers. You don't, of course, get, you know, your Survivor Squad, so if you're used to high trap durability, you don't really get that at all. But that was pretty much the 140 Retrieved Data in a 4-player. Did it solo, and we didn't use any random weapons from Fencers. So no Xenons, no vacuum tube bows, no rocket launchers of any kind, and no other random other weapons. Just pigwigs, cannonball grenades, traps. And that's pretty much about it. But other than that, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. Make sure to leave a comment if you have, of course, any feedback for the channel, or if you have any sort of ideas for weapon, hero loadouts, or trap builds in the future. And also, share this video with anyone that, of course, is grinding through Fencers. You never know. There could be a bug where you can only play Fencers solo, and I'm saying that ironically, but that actually has happened before, so it could happen again. But other than that, hope you enjoyed the video, hope you have yourselves a great day, and I will see you in the next one. So see ya!